The recruitment station floated in the darkness of space like a small city made of metal and glass. Thousands of ships came and went every day, bringing soldiers from hundreds of different worlds. Some looked like giant insects. Others had scales or fur or skin that glowed in the dark. The Galactic Coalition needed warriors, and it did not care what planet they came from. Jake Morrison stood in line with his duffel bag over one shoulder. He wore his pressed uniform and kept his back straight. He had been a soldier for 6 years back on Earth. He knew how to follow orders and how to stay calm. But this was different. This was not Earth anymore. This was the galaxy, and everything felt strange and new. Beside him sat Rex. The German shepherd was 4 years old with dark brown and black fur. His ears stood up tall and alert. His dark eyes watched everything around them. Rex wore a special vest that marked him as a military working dog. On Earth, everyone knew what that meant. Here, nobody seemed to understand. The line moved forward slowly. Aliens of all shapes and sizes talked in languages Jake could not recognize. His translator earpiece worked hard to make sense of the noise. Finally, it was his turn. The recruitment officer was a Vraxian. He looked like a giant praying mantis standing 7 feet tall on 4 legs. His eyes were huge and made up of thousands of tiny lenses. When he spoke, clicking sounds came from his mouth, but the translator turned it into words Jake could understand. Name and planet of origin, the officer said. Lieutenant Jake Morrison. Earth, humanity. The Vraxian typed something on a screen that floated in the air. Ah yes, the humans. You are the new species. We have heard interesting things about your people. His eyes moved down to Rex. What is that creature with you? This is Rex, sir. He is my partner. We work together. The officer leaned forward, studying Rex with obvious confusion. Your partner? But this is an animal. It has no weapons. It cannot speak. Why do you bring a pet to a military station? Jake had expected this question. He had practiced his answer. Sir, Rex is not a pet. He is a military working dog. On Earth, dogs and humans have worked together for thousands of years. We use them in combat, search and rescue, bomb detection, and tracking enemies. Rex has completed over 50 missions with me. The Vraxian made a sound that the translator could not interpret. You fight alongside non-intelligent animals? This is most unusual. Dogs are very intelligent, sir, just in different ways than us. Rex can smell things I cannot smell. He can hear things I cannot hear. He can run faster than me and fit into places I cannot go. Together, we are stronger than either of us would be alone. The officer's antennae twitched. He looked at Rex again, this time with more interest. Rex sat perfectly still, his training obvious in every line of his body. Does the creature follow commands? Yes, sir. Watch. Jake gave a hand signal. Rex immediately lay down, his belly touching the floor. Another signal and Rex rolled onto his back. A third signal and Rex jumped to his feet and sat at attention. The Vraxian seemed impressed. Remarkable. I have never seen such coordination between species. Very well, Lieutenant Morrison. You and your companion animal may proceed. You will report to Training Deck 7 at 0600 hours tomorrow. You have been assigned to Squad 7 Mixed Species Unit. Thank you, sir. Jake saluted and walked toward the exit. Rex walked beside him, matching his pace perfectly. They found their quarters after getting lost twice. The station was huge and confusing, with corridors that twisted in directions that hurt Jake's brain to think about. Their room was small but clean. 2 beds, 1 locker, and a bathroom. Jake set up Rex's food and water bowls in the corner. Well, boy, we made it, Jake said, sitting on the bed. Rex jumped up beside him, which was against regulations, but Jake did not care right now. He scratched behind the dog's ears. Tomorrow we meet the rest of the squad. I hope they are more understanding than that officer. Rex's tail wagged. He licked Jake's hand. Jake thought about home. He thought about his family back on Earth, his mom and dad and little sister. He thought about the green grass and blue skies. Space was beautiful, but it was also cold and empty. Having Rex here made it better. The dog was a piece of home, a reminder of where he came from. You hungry? Jake asked. Rex's ears perked up at the word. Jake laughed and filled the food bowl. While Rex ate, Jake unpacked his things. Pictures of his family, a small American flag, his weapons cleaning kit. Everything else was military issue. He checked his datapad for information about Squad 7. There were 8 members, not counting him and Rex. A Korthan named Vex was the squad leader. Korthans were big and strong with 4 arms and blue scales. There was a Felidae warrior named Shra. The Felidae looked like cats but stood on 2 legs and were as smart as humans. 3 Dendari soldiers, rock-based life forms that were hard to kill, and 2 glimmers, energy beings that could phase through walls. Jake wondered what they would think of Rex. Would they see the dog as a weakness? Would they think Jake was strange for bringing an animal to war? He would find out tomorrow. That night, Jake could not sleep. He stared at the ceiling, listening to Rex snore softly on the floor beside his bed. The dog had no worries, no fears about tomorrow. He trusted Jake completely. That trust was a heavy weight sometimes. "I will keep you safe," Jake whispered into the darkness. "I promise." Rex's tail thumped against the floor twice as if the dog understood. The alarm went off at 05:30 hours. Jake got dressed in his combat uniform and made sure Rex's vest was properly fitted. The vest had armor plating to protect the dog's vital organs. It also had a camera and communication system so Jake could see what Rex saw and give commands from a distance. They arrived at Training Deck 7 at 0555 hours. The room was massive, the size of 3 football fields. It could change its appearance to simulate any combat environment. Right now it looked like an empty warehouse. 7 aliens stood in formation. Vex, the Korthan squad leader, stood at the front. He was even bigger than Jake expected, nearly 8 feet tall with muscles that looked like they could bend steel. His 4 arms each held a different weapon. "You must be the human," Vex said. His voice was deep and rough. "And that is the animal everyone has been talking about." "Yes, sir." "Lieutenant Jake Morrison and Rex reporting for duty." Vex walked closer, his heavy footsteps echoing in the large space. He looked down at Rex with what seemed like disappointment. "It looks weak. Small. It will probably die in the first real fight." Jake felt anger flash through him, but he kept his voice calm. "Rex has survived more fights than most recruits ever see, sir. He may be small, but he is fast, smart, and trained for combat." Shra, the Felidae warrior, laughed. She was covered in orange and black striped fur and moved with the grace of a predator. "That tiny thing? I could break it in half without trying." Rex growled, low and deep. It was not a loud sound, but everyone heard it. The dog's eyes locked onto Shra, and something in his posture changed. He was not a pet anymore. He was a predator showing his teeth. Shra stopped laughing. "As I said," Jake repeated, "Rex is trained for combat. He knows when someone is a threat." Vex made a sound that might have been approval. "We will see. Morrison, take your position in the formation. We begin training in 5 minutes. Try to keep up." Jake and Rex moved to the back of the formation. The other squad members gave them space as if they did not want to get too close to the strange human and his animal. "This is going to be interesting," Jake muttered. Rex's tail wagged once. He was ready for whatever came next. The training deck transformed before their eyes. The empty warehouse disappeared, replaced by a city street full of damaged buildings and broken windows. Smoke filled the air. The simulation was so real that Jake could almost feel the heat from the fires. "Listen up," Vex commanded, his 4 arms gesturing at the simulated city. "This is a search and clear operation. Enemy combatants are hiding in these buildings. Our job is to find them and eliminate them. They are holographic projections and training drones, but they will shoot back. If you get hit, your suit will tell you. 3 hits and you are dead." Questions? Nobody spoke. "Good. Morrison, you and your pet stay in the back. Let the real soldiers handle this." Jake wanted to argue, but he knew better. He would let Rex prove their worth through actions, not words. He gave Rex a subtle hand signal that meant stay alert and ready. The dog's posture shifted slightly. He was scanning the environment now, his nose working. Squad 7 moved forward in formation. The 3 Dendari soldiers took point. Their rocky bodies could absorb a lot of damage. Shra moved along the left flank, her cat-like reflexes making her perfect for spotting ambushes. The 2 glimmers phased in and out of visibility, scouting ahead. Vex commanded from the center, his 4 weapons ready. Jake and Rex stayed near the back as ordered. They cleared the first building without problems. It was a small shop with overturned shelves and broken glass everywhere. The training drones that acted as enemies were easy to spot and eliminate. The squad moved with decent coordination, though Jake noticed they did not communicate much with each other. The second building was larger, an apartment complex with multiple floors. Vex split the squad. Half would check the ground floor while the others went upstairs. Jake and Rex were assigned to the ground floor team. They moved through a narrow hallway. Doors lined both sides. Shra opened each door carefully, checking for enemies. So far, nothing. Then Rex's behavior changed. His ears flattened against his head. His lips pulled back slightly, showing his teeth. A low growl rumbled in his chest. He focused on a door to their left, a door they had already passed. Jake recognized the warning signs immediately. "Wait," he said quietly. "Rex has detected something. That room we just passed." Shra turned around, her tail flicking in annoyance. "We already checked that room. It was empty. Your animal is probably just scared of the dark. Rex doesn't get scared, and he smells something we missed." One of the Dendari soldiers, a being who looked like he was made of gray stone, shook his head. "Our scanners show nothing in that room. No heat signatures, no movement. The animal is wrong." Jake felt frustration building. Dogs do not rely on heat signatures. They use their noses. Rex has 300 million scent receptors. If he says something is wrong, something is wrong. "The human wants us to trust an animal over our technology," Shra said to the others. This is foolish, but Jake was not going to ignore his partner. He moved back toward the door, Rex leading the way. The dog's growl grew louder. Jake raised his rifle and kicked the door open. 3 training drones dropped from the ceiling where they had been hiding. Their weapons powered up, targeting Jake. But Rex was faster. The dog launched himself at the nearest drone, his jaws clamping down on the machine's weapon arm. Metal crunched. The drone sparked and toppled over. Jake's training took over. He fired twice, dropping the other 2 drones before they could shoot. The engagement lasted maybe 4 seconds. The rest of the ground floor team stood in the hallway staring. "How did it know?" the Dendari soldier asked. "Our scanners showed nothing." Jake lowered his rifle. "The drones were using thermal dampening to hide from your scanners. But they still had lubricants in their joints and electronics in their circuits. Rex smelled them. Your technology can be fooled. A dog's nose cannot." Shra approached slowly. She looked at Rex with new eyes. The dog had returned to Jake's side, sitting at attention like nothing had happened. His tail wagged slightly, proud of himself. "I apologize," Shra said quietly. "I underestimated your companion." "His name is Rex," Jake said. "And thank you." They continued, clearing the building. This time, when Rex alerted to something, the squad listened. He found 2 more hidden threats that the scanners missed. By the time they regrouped with Vex and the others, Jake and Rex had the highest score in the squad. Vex studied them with his alien eyes. "Impressive work, Morrison. Your animal has skills our technology lacks. I may have been wrong about him. He has a name, sir." "Rex." "Rex," Vex repeated as if tasting the word. "Very well. For the next exercise, you and Rex will take point. Let us see what else you can do." The training continued for hours. They ran through different scenarios: urban combat, wilderness tracking, hostage rescue, bomb detection. Rex excelled at all of it. He found hidden enemies. He tracked targets through complex terrain. When Jake gave him a piece of cloth with a scent on it, Rex could follow that scent through the entire training deck. The other squad members began to change their attitudes. The Dendari soldiers asked questions about how dogs were trained. The Glimmers were fascinated by Rex's ability to sense things they could not. Even Shra seemed impressed, though she tried not to show it too much. During a break, Jake sat against a wall with Rex beside him. He shared some of his water with the dog, pouring it into a collapsible bowl. Shra approached and sat down nearby. "Can I ask you something?" the Felidae warrior said. "Sure. How did your people create such creatures? What technology did you use?" Jake smiled. "We did not create them. Not with technology, anyway. Dogs evolved alongside humans for thousands of years. A long time ago, wolves started following human hunters. They ate our scraps. Over time, they became less wild. They started helping us hunt. We protected them, they protected us. Eventually, they became dogs. We bred them for different jobs. Some for hunting, some for protection, some for herding farm animals. Rex's breed, German Shepherds, were bred for intelligence and loyalty and courage." Shra's ears twitched. "So they are partners. Not tools, exactly. Rex is not a weapon or a piece of equipment. He is my friend, my family. We trust each other completely. Your species forms families with other species?" Shra sounded amazed. "That is something we do not do. We Felidae pride ourselves on independence. We rely only on ourselves." Jake looked at Rex, who had laid his head on Jake's leg. "Maybe that is why humans can be strong. We know we do not have to do everything alone." We find others we can trust and we protect each other. That makes us better than we could ever be by ourselves. Shra was quiet for a long moment. Perhaps there is wisdom in that. The final exercise of the day was the hardest. Vex explained the scenario. A coalition officer was being held prisoner in a fortified position. The squad had to infiltrate, locate the prisoner, and extract him without getting caught. If the enemy detected them, they would execute the prisoner. This is a stealth mission, Vex said. No shooting unless absolutely necessary. Morrison, can your Rex operate quietly? He was trained for it, sir. Good. You will lead this mission. Your animal's detection abilities will be crucial. Jake felt the weight of responsibility. The whole squad would be depending on him and Rex. He gave the dog a hand signal that meant stealth mode. Rex's entire demeanor changed. He moved low to the ground, his steps silent. They approached the target building carefully. Jake let Rex scout ahead, watching through the camera on the dog's vest. Rex moved through shadows like a ghost. When he detected an enemy patrol, he stopped and sat, giving Jake time to plan a route around them. The squad followed Rex's lead, moving when he moved, stopping when he stopped. They avoided 4 enemy patrols without being seen. When they reached the building where the prisoner was held, Rex sat at the entrance and pawed at the ground. "What is he doing?" one of the glimmers asked. Jake checked his datapad. "He has detected explosives. There are mines at the entrance." Vex scanned the area. "My equipment shows nothing. Trust Rex," Jake said. He studied the ground carefully, looking for any sign of the mines. There, almost invisible, were the pressure plates. If they had walked through that entrance, the whole squad would have been eliminated from the exercise. They found another way in. Rex led them through a side window and down a corridor. He stopped at a door and wagged his tail once. Jake knew what that meant. The prisoner is in there. They breached the room and secured the simulated hostage. The extraction was perfect. Not a single shot fired. When they exited the training deck, the score display showed they had completed the mission with 0 casualties and 0 detection. The squad erupted in celebration. Even Vex, who seemed incapable of smiling, looked pleased. "Outstanding work," the Corthan commander said. He looked down at Rex. "That animal, Rex, saved this squad multiple times today. I have never seen anything like it." Jake felt pride swell in his chest. "Thank you, sir." That evening, back in their quarters, Jake brushed Rex's fur and checked him for any injuries. The dog was tired but happy. His tail wagged constantly. "You did good today, boy. Really good. I think they finally understand what you can do." Rex licked Jake's face, making him laugh. Outside their window, the stars shone in the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, a real war was happening. Soon they would not be training anymore. They would be fighting for real, with real enemies and real danger. But Jake felt ready. The alarm siren screamed through Station Kepler at 300 hours. Jake woke instantly, his training kicking in. Rex was already on his feet, ears alert. Red warning lights flashed in their quarters. "All personnel report to battle stations." "This is not a drill." "Repeat, this is not a drill." Jake dressed in under 2 minutes, pulling on his combat armor and checking his weapons. He fitted Rex's protective vest, making sure every strap was secure. The vest had armor plates that would stop most small arms fire. It also had medical sensors that would alert Jake if Rex was injured. They ran to the assembly area. Squad 7 was already gathering. Vex stood at the center, his forearms checking different weapons. "Listen quickly," the Corthan commander said. "The Zathran Empire has launched a major assault on Tertius Prime, a coalition colony world. 20,000 civilians are trapped in the capital city. We are deploying immediately. Combat is expected to be intense." Jake had heard of the Zathran. They were reptilian warriors, 7 feet tall with regenerative abilities that made them hard to kill. They had been pushing against coalition borders for months. Now they had made their move. "Our mission is to secure the planetary command center," Vex continued. "If we lose that building, we lose the city." "Understood?" The squad responded as one. "Yes, sir." They boarded the transport ship Valiant Dawn along with hundreds of other soldiers. The ship was huge, but it still felt crowded. Aliens of every species prepared for battle. Some checked weapons. Others prayed to gods Jake had never heard of. A few looked scared. Jake found a quiet corner and sat with Rex. The dog sensed the tension in the air. His tail was still, but his eyes were bright and focused. "You ready for this?" Jake asked quietly. Rex licked his hand. That was answer enough. Shira approached them. The Felidae warrior wore combat armor that made her look even more dangerous. How are you feeling, human? Nervous, Jake admitted. This will be my first real battle off Earth. Mine too, Shra said. I have trained for years, but training is not the same as combat. No, it is not. Jake scratched behind Rex's ears. But we have each other. We will get through this. The ship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of Tertius Prime. Through the windows, Jake could see the planet below. It looked like Earth in some ways. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds. But fires burned across the surface. Smoke rose from cities. The Zathran were already doing terrible damage. 2 minutes to drop, the pilot announced. The squad moved to the deployment bay. The Dendari soldiers formed up first. They would absorb the initial fire when the doors opened. Jake and Rex positioned themselves in the middle of the formation. Rex pressed against Jake's leg, ready. The ship landed hard. The impact threw several soldiers off balance. The rear doors opened with a hiss of hydraulics. Hell waited outside. The city was burning. Buildings collapsed under artillery fire. Zathran forces moved through the streets in organized formations. Coalition soldiers fought desperately to hold them back. Explosions lit up the sky. The sound was overwhelming. Move out! Vex roared. Squad 7 hit the ground running. Plasma fire streaked past them. A Dendari soldier to Jake's right took 3 hits and went down. His rocky body could absorb damage, but even stone had limits. They took cover behind a destroyed vehicle. Jake's heart pounded. His hands shook slightly from adrenaline. He forced himself to breathe slowly. Beside him, Rex was calm. The dog had been in combat before. He knew his job. Command center is 2 blocks northeast, Vex shouted over the noise. We need to move fast. Morrison, can Rex scout ahead? Yes, sir. Jake gave Rex the signal. The dog darted forward, staying low, moving from cover to cover. Jake watched through the camera feed on his datapad. Rex moved like a shadow through the chaos. He reached an intersection and stopped. Contact, Jake called out. 6 enemies around the corner. Zathran strike team. Can we go around? Vex asked. Jake studied the camera feed. Negative. They are blocking the only route to the command center. Then we go through them. Squad, prepare for contact. They advanced toward the intersection. The glimmers phased ahead to scout. One of them phased back quickly, his energy form flickering with alarm. Heavy weapons, the glimmer reported. They have a plasma cannon. Plasma cannons could cut through their armor like paper. This was going to be ugly. On my mark, Vex said. 3, 2, 1, mark. They rounded the corner. The Zathran were ready. 6 reptilian warriors in heavy armor, their weapons already firing. The plasma cannon swiveled toward Vex. Rex, attack! Jake commanded. The German shepherd exploded into motion. He was a blur of brown and black fur. The Zathran with the plasma cannon never saw him coming. Rex hit the alien low, going for the legs. His jaws clamped down on the Zathran's knee joint where the armor was weakest. The bite force of a German shepherd was strong enough to crack bone, and it crushed through the alien armor. The Zathran roared in pain and surprise. The plasma cannon fell from his hands, discharging into the ground. Rex released and dodged away as the alien tried to grab him. Jake followed up immediately. He aimed for the weak points Rex's attack had exposed and fired 3 rounds. The Zathran went down. The rest of Squad 7 used the confusion to press the attack. Shra moved with incredible speed, her claws finding gaps in Zathran armor. The Dendari soldiers absorbed fire and returned it. Within 30 seconds, the enemy strike team was neutralized. Vex looked at Rex with something like awe. That creature just saved my life. His name is Rex, Jake said. And yes, he did. They continued toward the command center. The fighting grew more intense with each block. Zathran forces seemed endless. For every enemy they killed, 2 more appeared. Buildings collapsed around them. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burning plastic. Rex proved invaluable. He detected ambushes before the squad walked into them. He found wounded coalition soldiers trapped in collapsed buildings, his sensitive nose picking up their scent through tons of rubble. Once he even found a Zathran sniper hiding on a rooftop, alerting Jake before the sniper could fire. The other species in the squad started to understand. This was not just a smart animal. This was a warrior who happened to have 4 legs instead of 2. They reached the command center as the sun was setting. The building was under heavy assault. Zathran forces surrounded it, hammering it with artillery and plasma fire. Coalition defenders fought from the windows, but they were running low on ammunition and hope. We need to break through their line, Vex said. Any ideas? Jake studied the enemy positions. There were too many to fight head-on. But he noticed something. The Zathran had set up their heavy weapons in a specific pattern, creating overlapping fields of fire. If they could take out the key positions, the whole formation would collapse. Rex and I can slip through their lines, Jake said. We take out their command post. Without coordination, their attack will fall apart. That is a suicide mission, Shra protested. You will never make it. We have done harder. Rex can move unseen. I follow his lead. We hit their command post fast and hard, then get out. Vex considered it. You have 2 minutes to get in position. When you strike, we attack from here. If you fail, we all die. No pressure, Jake managed a tight smile. Understood, sir. He and Rex moved into the shadows. The dog understood the mission without being told. He had done infiltration work before back on Earth. This was just another mission, just another enemy. They slipped through the Zathran lines like ghosts. Rex moved ahead, finding gaps in the enemy patrols. Jake followed exactly in the dog's footsteps. Once, a Zathran soldier walked within 3 feet of them. Rex froze, becoming invisible in the darkness. Jake held his breath. The soldier moved on. They reached the Zathran command post. It was a hastily erected structure protected by 6 guards. Jake counted the guards, calculated angles, planned his attack. He had maybe 20 seconds before someone noticed them. He gave Rex a signal. The dog moved to the left while Jake moved right. They struck simultaneously. Rex took down the first guard before the Zathran could shout a warning. Jake dropped 2 more with precise headshots. The remaining 3 turned to fight, but by then it was too late. Jake threw a plasma grenade into the command post and dove for cover. The explosion lit up the night. The command post disintegrated. Zathran communication equipment sparked and died. Now, Jake heard Vex's voice over the comm. All units, attack! Squad 7 charged the confused Zathran forces. Without coordination, the enemy formation fell apart. Coalition soldiers poured out of the command center, hitting the Zathran from another angle. The battle turned into a rout. Jake and Rex fought their way back to the squad. The combat was close and brutal. Jake's rifle ran dry. He switched to his sidearm. Beside him, Rex fought with the ferocity of his wolf ancestors. The dog protected Jake's blind spots, taking down enemies Jake did not even see. Finally, after what felt like hours, the firing stopped. The Zathran were retreating. The command center was secure. Jake collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. His armor was scorched in 3 places. His hands were shaking. Rex sat beside him, panting heavily. The dog's fur was dirty and matted with blood, though most of it was not his own. You okay, boy? Jake asked, running his hands over Rex's body, checking for injuries. A few scratches, but nothing serious. The armor vest had done its job. Vex approached them. The Corthan commander looked exhausted. The second day of fighting on Tertius Prime was worse than the first. The Zathran brought reinforcements. Heavy armor rolled through the streets. Gunships filled the air. They were determined to take the command center no matter the cost. Squad 7 had been fighting for 36 hours straight. They took turns sleeping in shifts 2 hours at a time. Jake was beyond tired. His eyes burned. His muscles ached, but he kept going because stopping meant death. Rex was exhausted too. The dog moved slower than usual, his steps heavy. But he never complained. He never quit. When Jake worked, Rex worked. That was their deal. Incoming! Someone shouted. Jake grabbed Rex and dove behind a barricade as plasma fire tore through the air. The command center's walls were scarred with blast marks. Bodies of both Coalition and Zathran soldiers littered the streets. This was no longer a battle. It was survival. Vex called the squad together during a brief pause in the fighting. The Corthan commander looked terrible. His armor was cracked. Burns covered his scales, but his eyes were still sharp. Intelligence reports that the Zathran are preparing a final assault, Vex said. They will hit us with everything they have. Hundreds of soldiers. Armored vehicles. Air support. If they break through, the city falls. When? Shra asked. Her voice was hoarse from breathing smoke. Within the hour. The squad exchanged looks. They all knew what this meant. They might not survive the next fight. There is one chance, Vex continued. Our scanners detected unusual activity in the eastern sector. The Zathran might be positioning forces there for a surprise attack. If we can scout that sector and confirm enemy positions, our artillery can hit them before they attack us. That is suicide, one of the Dendari soldiers said flatly. The eastern sector is deep in enemy territory. I know, but it is our only option. Vex looked at Jake. Morrison, can Rex scout that far? Jake studied the map on his datapad. The eastern sector was 2 kilometers away through Zathran-controlled streets. It would be dangerous, maybe impossible, but if they did nothing, everyone in the command center would die. We can do it, Jake said. Rex has tracked targets through worse terrain than this. I will go with you, Shra volunteered. You will need backup, Vex nodded. Take one of the glimmers too. His phasing ability might save your lives. You leave in 5 minutes. Jake checked Rex's vest, making sure everything was secure. He loaded fresh magazines into his rifle. He tried not to think about the odds of success. He tried not to think about dying. Shra approached, her cat-like features set with determination. If we do not make it back, I want you to know something. Fighting beside you and Rex has been an honor. You have changed how I see the galaxy. We will make it back, Jake said. We have to. They left through a side entrance that opened into an alley. The Glimmer, whose name was Pulse, phased ahead to scout. Jake followed with Rex and Shra covered their rear. The city was a nightmare. Fires burned everywhere. Buildings had been reduced to rubble. The few civilians they saw were either dead or hiding. This was what war really looked like. Not glorious. Not heroic. Just destruction and death. They moved slowly, staying in cover, avoiding enemy patrols. Rex's senses were their early warning system. Twice he detected Zathran soldiers before they were visible. Each time the team managed to hide or slip past without being seen. After an hour, they reached the eastern sector. What they found made Jake's blood run cold. The Zathran had not positioned a few soldiers here. They had positioned an entire army. Hundreds of troops. Dozens of armored vehicles. Artillery pieces. This was not a surprise attack. This was an invasion force meant to crush the coalition completely. We need to report this, Pulse said, his energy form flickering with fear. Jake activated his comm. Static. He tried again. Nothing. They are jamming our communications, Shra realized. We have to get back and report in person. But getting back would be harder than getting here. The Zathran were starting to move. Their invasion force was beginning its advance. Within minutes, the streets would be flooded with enemy soldiers. Move, Jake commanded. They ran. Stealth was no longer an option. Speed was all that mattered now. They made it 3 blocks before running into a Zathran patrol. 6 soldiers heavily armed blocking their path. Contact, Shra yelled, opening fire. The fight was fast and brutal. Pulse phased through one enemy, disrupting its nervous system. Shra's claws found gaps in armor. Jake's rifle barked repeatedly. Rex took down a Zathran that tried to flank them, but the sound of gunfire attracted more enemies. Suddenly there were 20 Zathran, then 30. They were surrounded. Into that building, Jake shouted, pointing at a damaged apartment complex. We hold them there. They fought their way inside. Jake and Shra fired from the windows while Pulse tried to find a way to get a message through the jamming. Rex stayed close to Jake, guarding his humans' blind spots. There are too many, Shra said. We cannot hold forever, she was right. The Zathran were not rushing the building. They were smart. They would surround it, then burn it down with artillery. Jake and his team had maybe 10 minutes before that happened. I have an idea, Jake said. It is crazy, but it might work. I like crazy, Shra replied, reloading her weapon. Jake pulled out a flare gun, standard issue for signaling rescue. If I fire this, our artillery will see it. They will know something is wrong in this sector. They might send scouts. Or they might think we are already dead and do nothing, Pulse pointed out. Only one way to find out. Jake moved to a blown-out window on the top floor. Below, Zathran soldiers were gathering for an assault. He loaded the flare gun and aimed it at the sky. The flare shot up with a brilliant red trail. It exploded high above the city, visible for kilometers. Within seconds, every Zathran in the area knew exactly where they were. Now they will really want to kill us, Shra muttered. Get ready, Jake said, taking position by the window. This is going to get rough. The Zathran attacked from all sides. They poured into the building like a flood. Jake fired until his rifle overheated. Shra fought with claws and teeth when her ammunition ran out. Pulse phased through walls, striking from unexpected angles. Rex was everywhere, a brown and black whirlwind protecting Jake. Then Jake heard it. The sound of incoming artillery. Get down, he screamed. They hit the floor. The building shook as coalition artillery shells slammed into the streets outside. The Zathran forces took massive casualties. Their attack broke apart in confusion. They saw the flare, Shra said, laughing with relief. They actually saw it. Yeah, but we are still trapped, Jake pointed out. The artillery had bought them time, but not freedom. The building was surrounded. More Zathran were coming. They needed a way out. Pulse spoke up. I can phase through the enemy lines and bring help. But it will take time. Do it, Jake said. We will hold here. The glimmer vanished, phasing through the walls and into the chaos outside. That left Jake, Shra, and Rex alone in a damaged building surrounded by enemies who wanted them dead. How much ammunition do you have left? Shra asked. Jake checked. 2 magazines. Maybe 60 rounds. I have less. When we run out, we fight with claws and fists. And teeth, Jake added, looking at Rex. The dog was panting hard, his fur matted with dirt and blood, but his eyes were still alert. Still ready. The waiting was the hardest part. They could hear the Zathran outside regrouping, planning their next assault. They could hear the sound of artillery in the distance. The battle for the command center was reaching its climax. Morrison, Shra said quietly, if we do not survive this, I want you to know that Rex is the bravest warrior I have ever seen. He is small, yes, but his heart is larger than any Korthan, any Dendari, any species I know. Your people created something special when they made friends with dogs. Jake felt his throat tighten. We did not create them. We just recognized that we were stronger together than apart. That is the human secret. We know we are weak alone, so we find partners. We build families. We never face the darkness by ourselves. I understand that now, Shra said. I wish my people understood it too. The Zathran attacked again. This time there was no holding back. They used explosives to blow holes in the walls. They came from every direction at once. Jake and Shra fought until their weapons clicked empty. Then they fought with fists and claws. Rex darted between enemies, biting and dodging, creating chaos. A Zathran soldier grabbed Jake from behind, lifting him off the ground. Jake struggled, but the alien was too strong. He watched helplessly as another Zathran aimed a weapon at his head. Then Rex was there. The dog launched himself at the Zathran, hitting the alien with all his weight. The Zathran stumbled. Jake broke free and snapped the alien's neck, but the attack had been too much. Jake saw Rex fall, struck by a Zathran weapon. The dog hit the ground and did not get up. No! Jake screamed. He fought his way to Rex's side, dropping to his knees. The dog was breathing, but barely. Blood soaked his vest. Time seemed to slow down. Jake heard Shra shouting. He heard explosions. But all he could see was Rex, his partner, his best friend, lying hurt and bleeding. Then Pulse phased back through the wall. Help is coming! 30 seconds. Coalition soldiers stormed the building. The Zathran were overwhelmed. The rescue had arrived just in time. Jake picked up Rex carefully, cradling the dog in his arms. Stay with me, he whispered. Please, boy. Stay with me. Rex's tail moved slightly. Just once. A small. The medical bay on the Valiant Dawn was quieter than Jake expected. The ship had left Tertius Prime after the Zathran forces retreated. Coalition forces had won the battle, but the cost had been high. Hundreds of soldiers killed, thousands wounded. The victory felt hollow. Jake sat in a chair beside the medical pod where Rex lay. Through the transparent cover, he could see his dog surrounded by equipment he did not understand. Tubes and wires connected to Rex's body. Machines beeped and hummed. The dog was sedated, his chest rising and falling slowly. A Mendari doctor approached. Her species looked like living crystal, her body refracting light into rainbow patterns. Her voice was soft and melodic. Lieutenant Morrison, I have an update on your companion. Jake stood immediately. How is he? The surgery was successful. We repaired the internal damage and sealed the wounds. However, the injuries were severe. Broken ribs, internal bleeding, extensive tissue damage. He will need several weeks to heal fully, but he will heal. He will be okay. The doctor's crystalline face was hard to read, but her tone was warm. Yes, your companion will recover. But, Lieutenant, I must tell you something. What he did was extraordinary. Most creatures would have died from those injuries before we could treat them. His will to survive was remarkable. He fought to stay alive because he knew you needed him. Jake felt tears threatening. He had not cried since he was a child, but now he could not stop them. Can I see him? Yes, the sedation is wearing off. He should wake soon. The doctor left them alone. Jake moved closer to the medical pod, placing his hand against the transparent cover. Hey boy, he whispered, it is me. I am right here. Rex's ears twitched. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first. Then they found Jake's face. The dog's tail began to wag weakly. "That's right," Jake said, his voice breaking. "I'm here. You are going to be fine. You did so good, Rex, so good." The medical pod opened. Jake carefully placed his hand on Rex's head, scratching gently behind the dog's ears. Rex whined softly and tried to lift his head. "Easy. Just rest. We have time." Footsteps approached. Jake looked up to see Vex, Shra, and the rest of Squad 7. They gathered around the medical pod looking down at Rex. "How is he?" Vex asked. "He will recover. It will take time, but he will be okay." Shra's tail swayed with relief. "That is good news. We were all worried." Vex cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. "Morrison, I wanted to inform you of something. I have submitted a formal commendation to Coalition Command. I recommended that both you and Rex receive the Star of Valor for your actions on Tertius Prime." Jake looked up in surprise. "Sir, I do not understand." "Your scouting mission saved the city. The information you gathered allowed our artillery to destroy the Zathran invasion force before it could attack. Thousands of lives were saved because of what you and Rex did." Vex paused. "But that is not the only reason for the commendation. You have changed something important in the Coalition." "Changed what?" Vex gestured to the others. "Show him." Shra pulled out her datapad and turned it so Jake could see the screen. It showed a news broadcast from Coalition Central Command. A human reporter stood in front of a military base. Behind her, soldiers walked with dogs. German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Labradors, all wearing military vests. "Following the heroic actions of Lieutenant Jake Morrison and his combat partner Rex," the reporter said, "Coalition Command has officially recognized military working animals as full combat personnel. Over 200 human soldiers have arrived with their canine partners, and that number is expected to grow. These dogs are already being integrated into mixed species units across the Coalition." Jake stared at the screen, unable to speak. The reporter continued, "Other species have been fascinated by the bond between humans and dogs. The Felidae have begun studying the concept of interspecies partnerships. The Korthan have expressed interest in developing similar programs with creatures from their homeworld. What started as one human and his dog has become a movement that is changing how the Coalition approaches warfare." The broadcast ended. Shra put away her datapad. "You did that, Morrison. You and Rex showed us something we had never considered. That strength does not only come from weapons or technology. It comes from bonds, from trust, from family." Jake looked down at Rex. The dog was watching him with those dark, intelligent eyes full of trust and love. "I just brought my best friend to work," Jake said quietly. "That is all?" "No," Vex replied. "You brought hope. You brought proof that different species can work together, not just as soldiers in the same army but as true partners. That is worth more than any weapon." Over the next few weeks, Jake stayed close to Rex as the dog healed. The Valiant Dawn traveled to Coalition space stations, ferrying wounded soldiers home and picking up reinforcements. Jake watched his dog get stronger day by day. First, Rex could sit up, then he could stand. Then he could walk, slowly at first, then with more confidence. The other soldiers on the ship took an interest in Rex's recovery. Aliens of every species visited the medical bay to check on him. They brought gifts, little things they thought a dog might like. A Dendari soldier carved a toy from stone. A glimmer created a ball of light that Rex loved to chase. Even Vex, the stern Korthan commander, brought Rex a piece of meat from his own dinner. Shra visited every day. She would sit with Jake and Rex, sometimes talking, sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence. "I have been thinking about what you said," Shra told Jake one day, "about how humans know they are stronger together. My people, we are taught to be independent, to rely only on ourselves. But I think we are wrong. I think we are lonely." "It is not weakness to need others," Jake said. "It is wisdom." I am starting to believe that. 6 weeks after the battle, Rex was cleared for light duty. Jake fitted the dog's vest and checked every strap 3 times. They walked through the ship together, Rex's tail wagging with excitement. He was ready to work again. Squad 7 had a new mission. They were escorting a supply convoy through contested space. It was supposed to be routine, low risk. After everything they had been through, routine sounded perfect. They boarded the transport together. As they lifted off, Shra walked beside Jake and Rex. "You know," the Felidae warrior said, "I have been researching Earth animals. Dogs are not the only creatures you have partnered with. You have horses, dolphins, even birds that help you hunt." "That is true," Jake confirmed. "Your species has learned to see the value in others, no matter how different they are. Perhaps that is why the Coalition needs humans, not just as soldiers but as teachers. Jake smiled. We are still learning too. Before we joined the Coalition, we spent a lot of time fighting each other. Maybe being part of something bigger will make us better. The mission went smoothly. The convoy reached its destination without incident. When they returned to the Valiant Dawn, there was a message waiting for Jake. Orders for his next assignment. Squad 7 was being expanded. More humans were joining, each bringing their own canine partners. Jake was being promoted to lead trainer, responsible for helping other Coalition species understand how to work with military working dogs. This is a big responsibility, Vex said when he delivered the news. Are you ready for it? Jake looked at Rex, who sat at his feet, tail wagging. The dog had come so far. They both had. From the recruitment station where nobody understood what a military working dog was, to being recognized as heroes who changed the Coalition. Yes, sir. I am ready. We are ready. Good, your first class starts tomorrow. You will have students from 6 different species, all wanting to learn the human method of partnership. That evening, Jake sat in his quarters with Rex. The dog rested his head on Jake's knee, content and peaceful. Outside the window, stars streaked past as the ship traveled through hyperspace. We did it, boy, Jake said softly. We showed them what we can do together, and now we get to teach others. Rex's tail thumped against the floor. Jake thought about everything that had happened, the battles, the fear, the moment he thought he might lose Rex forever. But they had survived. They had succeeded, and they had proven something important. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the fastest or the toughest. But they understood something that many others had forgotten, that true strength came from bonds. From choosing to stand beside someone and saying, I will protect you and you will protect me. Dogs had taught humans that lesson thousands of years ago, back when wolves first approached human campfires. And now humans were teaching that lesson to the galaxy. The next morning, Jake and Rex walked into the training room. 15 aliens of various species waited there. They looked at Rex with curiosity and respect. Word of his actions on Tertius Prime had spread through the entire Coalition fleet. Good morning, Jake said. I am Lieutenant Jake Morrison, and this is Rex. We are here to teach you about military working dogs and the partnership between humans and canines. But really, we are here to teach you about something bigger, about trust, about loyalty, about family. An alien raised a tentacle. Is it true that you would die for your dog? Jake did not hesitate. Yes, just as he would die for me. That is what partnership means. We are not just working together. We are living together, fighting together, surviving together. We are family, another alien spoke up. My species does not have this concept of family.